waited nearly an hour for our buddy boats to get going, and they're finally backing out of their slip, and we're going to get going. Perfect day, little bit of west wind and calm seas today. In the background over there you can see the dark blue boat, that's Zarpe, who we're buddy boating with. You can see some of the little houses out over there, on the other side there. The tide's out, so this is dry land over here. So this morning we've lifted the dinghy up. We didn't want to do it last night. Sun is rising in the background, and just over there is our lovely buddy Zarpe. And we'll be leaving shortly for Bimini. As we're leaving the Bay of Biscay, you go through the, I don't know, I call it the Avenue of Stiltsville, because it's the channel that goes out between these structures that were built in the 50s. Goings on. The structures are now mostly abandoned and becoming derelict. Because, I don't know, they stopped the building here. So we're on the start of day 2 of our trip. Day 1 we came from West Palm down to Biscayne Bay, and day 2 we're going from Biscayne over to Bimini. And behind us you can see Zarpe with the city of Miami in the background. It looks like conditions are pretty calm today. Long may it last.
This is us arriving into Bimini in the Bahamas, having crossed over. It proved to be a difficult period. There was a lot of traffic, and there was a 3-knot outflowing tidal current, which you would want to dock against that current to have full control over the vessel, particularly as we didn't have a stern thruster. Here you can see the flow of the current, but also us trying to make an approach to the slip that they wanted us to tie up with. Zarpe is right in front, having come in with their bow thruster and stern thruster and full astern to counter the current. We're making a very slow approach, and basically the engines are off and trying to control the vessel with the bow thruster and occasional kicks ahead with the rudder hard to port. Here it looks like we might make it, But as Dave said to me, Captain Zarpe, don't lose the stern. And you can see we're starting to lose the stern, and if the current catches it, we've had it. Unfortunately, the throw from the Admiral wasn't good enough, and although Dave got the line, at this point I had made the decision that I was going to pull out. And although Dave is on it, I'm starting to go astern, and I'm getting out of the situation. And this is where you see the stern going around, and very quickly we're caught by the current. Dave's let go of the line, and I'm going full astern on the engines, and we're basically being pushed down the stream. We tried 2 more approaches, and it wasn't possible. The prudent mariner should wait till the tide had died, which is what we did. We had to steam around. We could have anchored, but I decided to go out the entrance, turn around, come back in, and wait until the tide had stopped, and then tying up became safe. I can't emphasize to you the prudency of waiting until that tide had settled down. And I would always pull out early because there's just not a lot of room there for us to tie up. We are having our successful tie-up drinks at Bimini Big Game Club, and then Leslie went out on a snorkeling trip and snorkeled, not dove, on a wreck, as well as managed to get some snorkeling with some reef sharks and down on a reef with fish. At the same time, I had booked to go on a hammerhead shark dive. Leslie decided she didn't want to come. When we went down to see the hammerheads, it turns out that none of the hammerheads came over, but we were lucky enough to get a pregnant tiger shark. And here is a selection of the shots that I took while down on this dive. It was a feeding dive, and we were given very specific instructions on how to act and react. I did have to poke the shark once to stay away from me, but on the whole I never felt unsafe. My equipment is a Nikon D850 inside a Nauticam housing. I am very glad that I did this, and I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. Dave went down this morning and he speared these 9 lobsters.
I just grabbed them with my bare hands.
He grabbed them with his bare hands, and then he killed them. He squashed them between his knees, and that killed them. It was amazing.
Do it. Oh my God, he just drank the whole dish of...
The next day we left Bimini. The tide was flooding, so it was against us. And after the parade of boats went by, I was able to get off by bow thrusting off rudder hard to starboard and engine ahead, and we just came straight off the dock and made our way down the channel. There's Zarpe out in front of us, and we caught up with her a little bit later, and once we got on the Bahama bank, we were able to put the drone up and film the 2 Nordhavn 62s steaming towards each other. It makes a magnificent picture. Now here's Zarpe coming, and about 6 knots in this picture. And then I pan across to Karawa, making a equally beautiful picture. These boats ride the best of all the vessels I've ever seen. Once we got onto the bank, we decided to anchor overnight, and I tested the sea scooter that we had bought, which was fantastic. And be more about that in later videos when we have some amazing fun with the scooters, and we'll go into more detail about it. The next day, Zarpe in full flight heading up to the Berry Islands. Here we are playing around in Zarpe's dinghy, anchored in Great Harbour Quay in the Berry Islands. We went ashore and had a drink at the Hammerhead restaurant and bar. Here we are having a couple of beers, LOL, and then negotiating the side of the road so that we could get down to our dinghy and go back to the boat. To be honest, we were a little disappointed in Great Harbour Quay, and we left the next day and anchored back out on the bank again. That was a lot of fun. We then made our way to the top of Andros Island.
We've just anchored in at North Andros. After the 5th attempt at anchoring, we managed to set the anchor. It was just dragging and dragging and dragging. So now we've launched the dinghy and we're off on a joyride.
Stone everywhere.
This is at anchor in where are we? North Andros. And you can see we're swinging around quite nicely on our anchor. So all good for the night. Darling.
What? You want me to film it, or you want me?
I've got both ends of the line here now.
No. Here we are departing North Andros and heading out into the tongue of the ocean, using GoPro from above the pilot house. You get a good perspective. Halfway across, we came across a big Sargasso area and went fishing. We ended up getting that stuck around our propeller and our stabilizer fins. We then anchored at the top of Eleuthera near Current Cut when I dove down, not with tanks, but snorkeled down to find more line stuck on the propeller. Fortunately, the cable cutter or line cutter had done its job, and this was just a case of removing the rope that was left there. We're arriving at Spanish Wells in the tender driven by Dave Knapp, which means it's probably going to be messy on the way back. He says our videos aren't exciting enough, so I guess this will be the beginning of an exciting one. Oh shit. Right. Little spot of Spanish Wells. One of the great things with a drone is that you're able to get up and get a good perspective, a unique perspective of where you are. This is current cut at the top of Eleuthera, and I'm seeing the sun come up long before anyone else. And then back at the boat, there's the sun coming up at the same time. There's a picture taken from the drone of the two vessels anchored about 800 yards off the shore, hiding from the southerlies.